I heard the bells on Christmas Day, their old familiar carols play, and wild and sweet the words repeat of peace on earth, goodwill to men. Greetings and welcome to Moments of Meditation. I'm Kathleen Bauer and ever blessed to be walking on this journey we call life with you. Recently, we found ourselves searching for bells. Not clanging bells, but ringing bells. Bells offering hope for the season. From a very young age and on through the years, I would often hear my dad resonate with the song Silver Bells. Many times, he would share a small tidbit of a story, sometimes even relating it to a time of serving our country via being drafted in the Korean War. Deep introspection and reflection of hope would be quietly evident in those moments. The opportunity of taking time to listen and hear the beautiful holiday bells seemed to touch a deep place within my dad's soul. Fast forwarding to shortly after his death, my mom had steeple bells installed at their local neighborhood church, where they had met some 60 years earlier. As a memorial to celebrate their years together, these two clearly loved bells. Throughout the years, Brian and I have attended funeral services at the same sanctuary and literally heard the bells. What a beautiful gift of nostalgia and hope. We seek hope and we desire to soar to levels of happiness, but how? Soaking in and even speaking steadily with peace, but again, how? At the time of the pandemic, we felt like it would never end. And at times, right now, we see it reappearing or resurging. And I wonder if we take a few minutes to look at things this way. How many personal pandemics of others might we learn from? How many of our loved ones, perhaps even acquaintances, have indeed been nearly forced to face pandemics of their own soul? Some public and other situations hidden from the outer world. In our limited view, we see the pandemic of COVID 2019 and forward as the pandemic, lest we forget other situations throughout history. And even more recently, Hurricane Ian, which swept away so much of several beautiful areas in the state of Florida. Blessings and sincere gratitude has been a true priority, but how challenging and really difficult it can be at times to live out positivity in daily life when the swirl of struggles, both personally, professionally, spiritually, emotionally, and the list goes on, feels so overwhelming and nearly unbearable. We all face issues and emotional tsunami-like seasons, some similar to one another, some more common, some we hear of and we cannot imagine. The following piece that I'm going to share with you is entitled The True Story of Pain and Hope behind a beautiful, familiar Christmas carol, I Heard the Bells on Christmas Day. This is an excerpt written by Justin Taylor. In March of 1863, 18-year-old Charles Appleton Longfellow walked outside his family's house on Brattle Street in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and unbeknownst to his family, boarded a train bound for Washington, D.C., traveling over 400 miles across the eastern seaboard in order to join President Lincoln's Union Army to fight in the Civil War. Charles was the oldest of 6, born to Fanny Elizabeth Appleton and Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. The celebrated literary critic and poet, Charles had 5 younger siblings, a brother and 3 sisters, and then another one who had died as an infant. Less than 2 years earlier, Charles's mother, Fanny, had tragically died after her dress caught fire. Her husband, awoken from a nap, tried to extinguish the flames as best he could, first with a rug and then his own body. But she had already suffered severe burns. She died the next morning, and that was in 1861. Henry Longfellow's facial burns were severe enough that he was unable even to attend his own wife's funeral. He would grow a beard to hide his burned face, and at times feared that he would be sent to an asylum because his grief was so deep. When Charlie, as he was now called, arrived in Washington, D.C., he sought to enlist as a private with the 1st Massachusetts Artillery. Captain W.H. McCartney, commander of Battery A, wrote to Henry Wadsworth Longfellow for written permission for his son Charlie to become a soldier. HWL, as his son referred to him, granted the permission. Longfellow later wrote to his friends, Charles Sumner, a senator from Massachusetts, John Andrew, the governor of Massachusetts, and Edward Dalton, medical inspector of the 6th Army Corps, to lobby for his son to become an officer. But Charlie had already impressed his fellow soldiers and superiors with his skills, and on March 27, 1863, he was commissioned as a 2nd lieutenant in the 1st Massachusetts Cavalry assigned to Company G. After participating on the fringe of the battle in Virginia, Charlie fell ill with typhoid, and he was sent home to recover. He then rejoined his unit in August, having missed the Battle of Gettysburg that happened in July prior to. While dining at home on December 1st, 1863, Henry Wadsworth Longfellow received a telegram that his son had been severely wounded 4 days earlier. On November 27, 1863, while involved in a skirmish during a battle of the Mine Run campaign, Charlie was shot through the left shoulder, with the bullet exiting under his right shoulder blade. It had traveled across his back and skimmed his spine. He avoided being paralyzed by less than an inch. He was carried into New Hope Church in Orange County, Virginia, and then transported to the Rapidan River. Charlie's father and younger brother set out for D.C., arriving on December 3rd. Charlie arrived by train on December 5th. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow was alarmed when informed by the Army surgeon that his son's wound was very serious and that paralysis might ensue. 3 surgeons gave a more favorable report that evening, suggesting a recovery which would require him to be long in healing. On Christmas Day, 1863, Longfellow, a 57-year-old widowed father of 6 children, the oldest of which had nearly been paralyzed on behalf of his country, wrote a poem seeking to capture the dynamic and the dissonance of his own heart and the world that he was observing around him. He heard the Christmas bells that December day and the singing of peace on earth, but he observed a world of injustice and violence that seemed to mock the truthfulness of this optimistic outlook. The theme of listening, hoping for the bells, recurred throughout the poem, eventually leading to a settledness of confident hope, even in the midst of bleak despair. I heard the bells on Christmas Day, and in despair I bowed my head. There is no peace on earth, I said. Hate is strong, and it mocks the song of peace on earth, goodwill to men. Yet pealed the bells more loud and deep. God is not dead, nor doth he sleep. The wrong shall fail, the right prevail, with peace on earth, goodwill to men. Wow. Knowing the backstory, the history that led to the writing of this song makes it a little bit more relatable. Death, injury, lifelong scars, illness, war, battle wounds leading to near paralysis. And HWL heard hope. He heard hope through the bells on that Christmas day. Can you relate? I think we all can. Not to the exact degree or the same scenario as Longfellow, but we have all dealt and deal with disappointment, death, unprecedented times which still linger. Sometimes getting through one day at a time challenges our hope. How about if we all take a breath, an extra breath, and listen for the hope of the bells. Find the bells in your life. Search for the best and the beautiful. This is possible. Will you ponder it? And will you try to hear those bells ringing? Can you hear them? Will you invite them to ring and resonate within your heart and soul? Until next time, trusting God to see us through, may your heart be full and ringing as He watches over you.